Just go with the flow. Is that just a throwaway term that people use? Or is there an actual way where we can live effortlessly, falling into like life's stream of power so we don't have to force through it anymore? Well, in this video I want to show you how my life has actually changed from being one of resistance, of being burdened by certain tasks that need to be completed, of living in a state of obligation all the time, to a life that is effortless in nature because I am allowing myself to feel into what is right for me at this very moment. So make sure you stick around till the end of the video, because at the end I'm going to give you 3 tips to accessing this state of being. Let's do it. Hey guys, my name's Michael. I'm an NLP practitioner and subconscious reprogrammer. And in this video, I really wanted to talk about moving into a state of being that is effortless. So in our culture, particularly in Western culture, we are taught that in order to experience a successful life, that we often are met with resistances, we're met with obstacles, things that are in the way, that we need to just force our way through and power through as it's a test of our might or our courage or our worthiness. And although it's true for many people, how many people do you meet that are really wealthy in physical assets, but they're really poor in terms of their health and wellness and the depth of their relationships with other people? So, although that does work, the question that you should ask yourself is, at what cost? The Taoists believe in a way of life that ebbs and flows with the natural cycles of the world. They call this Wu Wei. Wu Wei can be translated to non-action, or an even better translation is the action of non-action. So now you may associate this with meaning laziness or apathy, but in this context, what I'm talking about is to not go against nature or to not force anything. It's kind of like to go without effort. I like to use the example of a sailing boat. So rowing is a rather thoughtless way of pushing a boat across the water. And this is because it requires immense strain and hardship to move against the current of a body of water. On the other hand, sailing uses the forces of nature, like the power of the wind, to skillfully move and maneuver the boat. So rather than going against nature, sailing requires that you flow through nature effortlessly. So let's look at practical aspects of your life. So have you ever been involved in a task, maybe constructing something, even something as simple as like a Lego set, or maybe you have been involved in the water doing some surfing, or maybe you were involved in a sport where it's as if time just disappears. It's not even relevant anymore. And you find that you have become incredibly involved at an unconscious level into that task. And this has often led to massive amounts of productivity in whatever you're doing. Well, this is called the flow state. And in sports, it's actually called being in the zone. And the Taoists call this Wu Wei. So that explains this effortlessness that I'm talking about. So what about other areas of your life? What if you were doing some study and you really needed to complete an assignment, but you're not really feeling very inspired? In fact, you're feeling like it's going to be a real grind to actually get this thing out. So if you were to do that task, you'll notice that you just seem to make errors. It seems to be forceful. You can't actually come up with any of the content that you need to. So that is moving against the force of nature. But if you were to wait until you were feeling inspired to actually commit to that task, well then you'll find that you're able to get the words out. You're able to come up with inspiration a lot easier. It just seems to flow out of you. And you haven't had such a big exchange of energy so that you can get that task completed. A really good example of this state is me doing these videos. So I have made the mistake in the past where I've felt like I needed to grind out a video. I need to actually write out my plan and then come up with the concept and present it. But I've felt that that day, everything just seemed to go against me. You know, maybe the battery kind of died on me, maybe I couldn't get the words out, or I didn't feel inspired to get my message out. So now that I've learned from that experience, I only make these videos when I feel inspired to do so, because I know it's going to be effortless, I know it's going to be easier. So right now I'm going to give you my 3 powerful steps to achieving effortless living. Step number 1 is to recognize the resistances. So feel into the emotion of, do I feel like doing this, or is it something that I feel I need to do? Because there are massive differences there. So if you feel like doing it, if you're feeling like an inner inspiration within you, then that is the time. And that brings me to step number 2, which is strike while the iron's hot. So when you feel inspired, that is the time to just leap into it and do the task. Aim for around 30 minutes, because the flow state has its limits as well. So you can't keep that unconscious sort of awareness or be in that state of being for hours and hours and hours. So it's really hard paced, it's to the point, and get straight into the task. Step number 3 is to meditate every day. And I've talked about meditation in previous videos, but the reason in this case that meditation is super important is because when we meditate, we tap into a greater awareness so that you're more in tune into the flow of life. So it's like you're tuning into like a TV set. Back in the old days when you used to have to kind of tune the dial, or maybe on a radio where you need to tune into the right frequency. So you're going to have a great level of awareness or self-awareness of where you're at in terms of, am I inspired or is there a resistance there? Guys, if you've never meditated before, that's no problem at all. I certainly was in that space about 3 years ago. And literally I just watched a few videos and then started to practice it. It really doesn't take much at all, but it does take a bit of a conscious shift, moving away from like always looking at your devices when you've got, you know, a spare moment, to just sitting in the stillness and being able to access that conscious awareness. So I've put together a video. It's called The Fundamental Basics of Meditation. It's at therealshift.com. I also am running one-on-one consultations. So I've been doing this with a few different clients over the last couple of weeks, and I've noticed some incredible shifts in some of those clients, and a lot of those are shifting negative emotions that have been trapped into their neurology. So I'd normally work on about 5-6 sessions with each person depending on your needs, but I also help you to move into that effortless way of living as well. So if you haven't subscribed already to these videos, make sure you subscribe, and guys, I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers.